Well, without further ado, Brenda, take it away.
Oh, that's quick. Wow. Whoa. Oh my goodness, what a long and illustrious intro. My gosh. And half of the audience is saying, who the heck is Brenda, right? And then the other half are like, round table. And feel free to woo and shout and laugh, because haven't we all had our shared tears this morning? I cried snotty tears through Jen, through the next speaker, Wickham, PGP, rocking the house, and then that last woman was a star. Where are you? What's your name again? You're amazing. And I love hearing the patients' voices. And some of you who don't know me might be here saying, wait a minute. Well, you can't just look at someone and say they don't have lipedema, because lipedema comes in all shapes and sizes. But full disclosure, as Wickham disclosed at the beginning, I don't have lipedema. I'm not a researcher. I'm not a doctor. But God, I love you guys. I have fallen in love with the lipedema community, and I will share that through my disclosure, which LymphaPress 3 years ago had a device that was indicated for the treatment of lipedema, and I didn't know anything about it. Like so many people don't know anything about it, although that is changing, isn't it? Yes. And it's going to continue to change. And I said, I cannot market this if I don't understand it. And the best move I ever made was picking up, well, I don't think I picked up the phone. I think I emailed Patty Cornute. She had 10,000 some followers on her lipedema fitness page. How many of you have been touched and inspired by lipedema fitness and Patty Cornute, right? And I didn't even know if this woman would talk to me. And not only did she talk to me, that's where she changed me. Because in hearing her story, my heart was broken open. And her ability to give and be vulnerable out there. And then she said to me, if you really want to talk to someone, you should talk to, they call her Pale Ginger Pear. And I'm like, what's a pale ginger pear? And then I saw she had like 85,000 followers on social media, and I thought, oh, well, she's a star. She's not going to want to talk to me. Emailed me right back. Because her openness and vulnerability and desire to share a story that's sometimes hard to tell. Right, Jen? It's not easy. It was brave for Jen to share her story this morning, and I applaud her because she said, I'm not there yet, but I'm getting there. And as long as she keeps moving forward, and as long as we all continue to circle around and support each other, the yet will be someday, because we're committed to each other. So LymphaPress, all of a sudden they have this marketing person that's fallen in love with the patients. And I said, I want to do a round table, and they let me. They didn't put any restrictions on it. They didn't say that people had to use our product to join or be a part of it. They just said, have at it and make it whatever you want it to be. And I want it to be a safe place where people could love and support each other. And that's what they do every month. And I am no longer a full-time employee of LymphaPress, but I am affiliated with them because even though I left the company, I'm like, can I still do the roundtables? Because I'm not going to break up with you all, ever. You're stuck with me, and that's all there is to it. And I get to do other content contribution for LymphaPress and other people. So that's how I learned about you. And that's where my journey began 3 years ago. And someone came up to me and said, look what you've created. And I burst into tears because I said, no, you created me. when I started this journey with the lipedema patient population, I had no idea how much I was going to need their kindness, their love, their empathy, their support, their humor, their candor, their silliness and sassiness. You show up to a round table and you can bet Susie Boshoff is going to drop some curse word. And you can bet someone's going to have to talk about how they have to go to the bathroom after pumping. And we talk about it all. And also, full disclosure, we have made it a place where only love is allowed. We don't tolerate backbiting. We don't tolerate people leaving that round table and talking about each other. We know that there are a lot of skirmishes that actually go on social media. And can we just say, let's just stop that? Can we just say, let's support each other and let's love each other unconditionally? Because the truth is, you're all different. There's no one else like PGP, and there's no one else like our Lippy Butterfly, and there's no one else like Casey Grosvenor, and the list goes on. And only you can do you the way you do, and that's all good. And maybe surgery is your route, and maybe pumping is your route, and maybe vibration plates or keto or this or that. Oh my! Whatever it is, we support you. That should be the message. You do you, and we will back you up, and we will not talk about you behind your back. Yeah. So I am a firm believer in that. You can clap all you want, because I love clapping. So I put a poll out to those of you that would be attending today, and I said, how many of you have been bullied? 80% of you had responded yes. So what contributes to how we see ourselves? You know, in pop culture, I was a child of the 70s, and I wanted feathered back hair, and I wanted to look like Farrah Fawcett in a bikini, you know, or that one piece she had. That was iconic. Family, these are the people that are supposed to love us unconditionally, and they're the ones that called me pleasingly plump all through my childhood years. Teachers who would send notes home with my mom about my weight. Peers can be cruel. So, more full disclosure, when I was 5 years old, I was 100 pounds. I know what it is to be the fat kid in the class that nobody wants to play with, that couldn't run because I would pee my pants, that didn't get invited to the birthday parties. I know that feeling. And so, you know what's so interesting about those of us in bodies that are different? We develop other areas of our personality. Like, look at us. We're the life of the party. We can make things happen. We have developed resiliency in so many other areas of our life. So I was bullied horribly as that 5-year-old little girl. And then I said, okay, I am going to change the way I look. And I starved myself. And here I am in high school, and this is a picture of me in high school. I don't look happy, but man, am I skinny. And the reason I was so unhappy was because I would go to school, and in the hallways, the mean girls, I remember vividly going up a stairwell once, and there were 20 girls all barking when I walked up the steps. And, okay, yeah, right? So can you just imagine what that did to my psyche? And I know what bullying does. You know, back in the day, bullies were tolerated. I would go home and tell my mom that I was being bullied, and she said, oh, you're too sensitive. You know, and God bless you, Mom, but wrong answer. Now, anybody in the world could see that that woman, that young woman in that photo was no dog. But what did I think about me? And so this topic of self-worth, you're like, Brenda, when are you going to get to the point here, right? So I'm going to get to the point, which is, for too long, my worth was dependent on what other people thought about me. And I know that after a conference, there is the potential for the big letdown. You've been love bombed. You've been surrounded by people that get you. You've had amazing material and inspiration. Your hearts have been touched, and then you go home. And what the heck do you do then? And so my goal and my hope and my great privilege is to share some things that I've learned in my journey about how to settle my own worth, because what I realized way too late. But you know what? It's never too late, right? It's between me and me. My worth, your worth, it is a relationship that you have with yourself. And someone told me when I started to build this presentation, which first was delivered to a bunch of realtors. So I thought, ooh, settlement, settlement. Everybody knows what it's like to settle a house, right? So I said, I'm going to call it settling your worth. And someone said, shouldn't you call it knowing your worth? And I thought about it, because I'm always open to feedback. Hey, maybe I should say it, knowing your worth, but Settling indicates a kind of wrestling, a kind of, I gotta work this thing out. It's not like you wake up one morning and you're so full of, I know my worth, I'm worthy. And when you don't really know it, it's annoying. It's actually hurtful to hear those words, you need to know your worth. I had to settle it. And I'm going to share the tools that I have learned over the course of my, I'm going to be 60. You're supposed to gasp. Okay. Years, how to settle my worth. And if you want to take notes, it goes SETTLED. And I promise I'll be quick, because I only have 32 more minutes left. But even if you get one of them, just one of those little nuggets, it'll change your life. And this is not just for the lipedema patients. I know that there are researchers and doctors and leaders of organizations, because the way I feel about it is settling your worth is the seminal issue of every person's life. Because if you don't settle your worth, you're going to settle for less. And it's time to stop settling for less in our work, in our relationships, everywhere we go. If you don't know who you are and own it, oh, and it's such a fun feeling. Isn't it wonderful to just be you, right, Lippy Butterfly? After I'm done, we're going to sneak into the lobby, and Lippy is going to sing for us. Yeah, because it's Sunday morning, and she's got a rousing song for us, which we could not include in the presentation because of copyright issues. But that's just a little teaser. Oh, and I know some of you are like, yes, but isn't knowing your worth all about ego and narcissism and this and that? I'm here to say no. Stop that. Ego requires a person to feel better than others, and will put others down in order to keep that perception. So there is a distinction, and don't say, oh, but I'm humble. Well, wait a minute. That's false humility. You were not created not to love yourself. You were created to have a love affair with the one person you are guaranteed to spend the rest of your life with. There's only one person you are guaranteed to spend the rest of your life with, and it's you. So settling your relationship between you and you, oh, if that can be a decision that you make, not just something, yeah, I know I'm worthy, yeah, you're worthy. But can you own it today, just like the keys that you get to your house on settlement day? I'd love for this to be settlement day for all of us. Other than, conversely, not ego, but self-worth is where you're your own best friend. Some of you are wonderful, wonderful friends to other people, and I would just encourage you from the bottom of my heart to love yourself as your own best friend, to love, accept, consider, encourage, care for, and believe in yourself. Wouldn't that be an amazing outcome if that were a decision that you would make? And some of you are there, But I say, let's take it up a notch too. So we're going to do settled, S-E-T-T-L-E-D. And the first one, the S is stop the comparisons. Okay, I heard those 4 amazing patient speakers this morning, and I'm like, I'm not talking this out. I'm not getting on that stage after them, right? How many battles did our speakers probably go through before getting on the stage? Well, you know, I don't have the results of this one, and maybe I shouldn't speak. I don't know. Imposter syndrome abounds when we compare ourselves to others. Oh my goodness, in the space that I work in communications and inspirational speaking and all that, like who needs another one, right? They're all over the place. But here's the thing, there's no one like you. There's no one that can say and do what you do like you do. You are unique and your voice is important. Would we not have all suffered lack this morning if any of those 4 patients had bailed? I want to applaud you again because you were amazing. You changed people. You changed people. Your voice is important. Keep speaking up. And then I said to myself up in my room as I reapplied my makeup after crying all morning because of you 4, that I'm going to do it too. If they can do it, I can do it too. Because there's something I felt I wanted to share because of love. And I'm going to do it the way I can do it. Comparison is the thief of your joy. We look on Instagram and we see people looking amazing and we think, oh, I could never look like that. And you know what? They probably don't either. You know what I'm saying? When I was in my 30s, I was married, actually my 40s, gosh, wow. And if you looked at my Instagram feed, you would have thought I was living large. I mean, you saw every meal I ever ate. You saw beautiful romantic vacations, posing for the camera, maybe a filter here and there. Nobody would have known that I was going home crying every night because my husband was mean to me. See, there's a fake life, there's a public thing, and it doesn't have to be fake. Some of it's truly authentic. Many of you in this room are authentic influencers who share very vulnerably your lives, but don't compare yourself to something that likely isn't even real. You're not in competition with anyone. When people say, well, you know, there's other round tables and there's other, I say the more the merrier. And why should organizations all intended to serve this population be at odds with each other? That annoys me to no end. Like, why can't those of you that are making an impact in research, in advocacy, in content, in helping people, can't we all just get along and do the same thing together? It's ego. Ego is what gets in the way of people really working together. And oh, well, you know, this happened back in 1984 and then in who cares? It's 2023. Can it be a new day? I say yes. Go ahead and clap if you want. So, settlement. Remember, settlement is between you and you. This content that I'm sharing today is between you and you. You do you. Do you and answer and ask yourself the questions. The next word representing the letter in settled is evict, your inner critic. Now, have any of you ever owned property and tried to evict someone? Or get rid of termites or bed bugs? Like they do not want to leave. It's not like, excuse me, can you please go? No, you have to really make an effort to evict someone from your house. And this is your home, making a home within yourself we're talking about here. And I say it's time to evict your inner critic. Like someone who, thank you, I loved, someone said amen and it's Sunday morning. Evict it. And I don't care who you are and where you're at, whether you have lipedema, whether you don't, whether you're a top researcher or a big wig or even the littlest person, who cares? We all have the inward critic, that space between our ears that tries to tear us down. And nobody is going to come along and say, April, you really need to stop thinking. Yeah, that doesn't work. You are the CEO of you. Nobody's going to give you an invitation to have a better and more free life. This is the stuff that can make your life better if you will implement it. And it's work. I mean, oh, Brenda, you're thinking that thought again. No, I will not. I will not. I refuse to. I talk to myself a lot. I love this slide. This is a really good one. Because how you love yourself is how you teach other people to love you. And if you want the quality of love in your life to be better, then I say, look at the quality of love you're giving yourself. How kind are you being to yourself? The kinder you are to you, you're going to find that other things follow, and thinking about yourself in a good way. All right, I hate this slide because I don't like guns at all, but if this person showed up at your door, what would you do? Would you say, hey, come on in, have some cake and coffee? No, right? You'd slam the door in their face, lock everything up, call 911, hide under the bed. So these invasive thoughts that tear you down, why do we welcome them? Like, hey, come on in. There's a spare bedroom. You can set up a little slumber and stay for the weekend. No, start to realize that you are worth fighting for yourself. And you do in the doctor's office. Yes, you do. You fight for, and if someone messed with your kid, you would be right there. You fight really well. So fight those inside voices and evict them. I encourage you to do that and to treat the territory between your ears like you would a treasured friend. Now, we all need people to lift us up sometimes, right? There's no harm in that, but to be your own best friend and to treat yourself kindly. And if you hear something in your head and it makes your heart hurt, that's your signal to stop. Now, maybe you can't just shake it right away. Have you ever tried to get sticky tape? I was boxing up our LymphaPress boxes yesterday, and I had tape on me, and I was like going like this, and I couldn't get it off. And sometimes negative thoughts are just like that. So sometimes you just need to change the subject, take a nap, put on some good Mary J. Blige, do something that makes you change the subject in your head. So evict those inner critics. And my clicker isn't clicking. Gentlemen, can you help me? Train your mind. I always think of Patty Cornu. Now, Patty, what's it like to train? Is it easy? Can it be challenging? Yes. Sometimes don't you wake up and say, I'm not doing this? Never. I love it. So, all right, you're evicting the tenants, but you've got to create new space so they don't feel welcome anymore. And that's by setting up new patterns of thought. What you think creates how you feel. So I'm going to need you to just do that. Start caring about how you feel. When I start to have that little big thing like, oh my gosh, I'm about ready. There is this big dark hole called introspection, and I'm about to dive into it. Being in touch with yourself. See, too often we just plow right through, because we got stuff to do. I don't have time to breathe and meditate. I got a spreadsheet. I got a to-do list. But that is exactly when you need to stop and take care of you. Because your internal guidance system is telling you something's off. Warning, warning. How many of you remember Lost in Space back in the day? Warning, warning, Dr. Smith. Your inner being, for every human being, is love. Your outer being is this. And sometimes they are at odds with each other. But how does love feel? Shout it out. How does love feel? Love feels great. Love feels warm. Love feels free. Love feels accepting. Love feels So whenever you are entertaining thoughts that are contrary to love, know that you are out of sync with your inner being. But it's not like you have to grasp for it. It is always there. It is like the center of the Tootsie Roll. It is there, and if you just make some adjustments, you can get back to that feeling of love and well-being, because life is way too short. Tending to your emotions like you would a garden, because they are your, have you ever ignored your GPS? Yeah, all the time. It's like, what do they know? I know the better way to get there. And then you end up in Timbuktu, 3 hours out of your way because you didn't listen. So your check engine light is how you feel. And I want to encourage all of you to care enough about how you feel. Because feeling good, look, life is too short to feel bad. And when you have a bad feeling, you can unpack it to the thought you were thinking. Remember, your inner being is love. Your outer being is this other stuff. The call is to stop betraying yourself. Turning your back on yourself hurts. Hearing in your voice, in your head, you're a loser. You're never going to make it. You are less than. All those feelings and thoughts hurt. And I say, if it doesn't feel good, flush it. And there is this audio of a toilet flushing that should have played just there, but for some reason it didn't. But you can imagine, right? Okay. The T is tell a news story. So I don't want you to think that I just had those experiences as a child being bullied, and I've pretty much lived a happily ever after since then. And I want to say that the lipedema community showed up for me. In 2021, in a matter of months, I lost my mom and I lost my husband. Eventually, I went through a hurricane not that long after, lost my house, sort of lost my job, and almost died, okay? That all happened. That's all that happened, right? I know, right? And you know what's so interesting? Part of me, doesn't want to go there because that's not where I mean, all the things I'm telling you, I have had to do because I just wanted to stay in bed under the covers and give up. And then I would get an email from Lippy or Patty, PGP and Susie and all my people like Dr. Herbst, people like Lindy McCutchinson, who I know is watching on the live stream. Lindy McCutchinson, Carolina Vein Center, one of the most amazing facilities that care about lipedema patients. She called me one night out of nowhere and she said, "Your life is going to be beautiful." When I felt like my life was broken. And so for a while there, I felt like I was living a bad country song. Right? And I really wanted someone to play it backwards so I could, get the car back, the husband back, all that. And I realized that I needed to tell a new story. I didn't want to be the grieving widow, and yet I had to grieve. I didn't want to be, oh, poor Brenda doesn't have the security of her former job. I did not want to be the victim. How many of you don't want to be the victim? So tell a new story. Tell the story that, yeah, you know what? I got COVID in the middle of surgery and I went to Germany, but guess what? I'm here. I'm fighting. I'm doing it. I'm winning. Tell a new story. Tell the empowered story. Yeah, go through stuff. Feel the feelings. Let them out. I swear, after I heard Linda Ann Kahn talking about the vagus nerve, I was pulling my ears left and right. You know what I mean? I was breathing and pulling all at the same time. Please, help, help. Do whatever it takes. But tell a new story, because the stories you tell about your life either make you a victim or a victor. And I'm voting with a bunch of victors in this room and watching at home. We sometimes fear that we're just not good enough. We all do that sometimes, but I'm here to tell you something shocking. You're flawed. I know, don't fall off your chair. You're flawed. But you're awesome. And I always say this, and I even trademarked it, and you knew it was coming. You're flawsome. You're flawsome. And I want to encourage you to embrace your flawsomeness. I mean, did I have to be perfect to come up here? Did you have to be perfect to be in that gorgeous fashion show that was put on the other night? Do you have to be perfect to move people, to touch hearts, to feel good about yourself? If that is the barometer, we're all screwed. Embrace your flawsomeness, everything that makes you uniquely you. Tell a new story. And the L is love bomb yourself. Yeah, it's going to feel like a nun in a biker bar at first. It's going to feel uncomfortable, but when you look in the mirror, conjure up love. Conjure up love. Speak kindly to yourself. It is a practice. You have to train yourself to do this. I know it's weird. But guess what? I'm not in the bed crying today. It works. Aw, yay. And you know what? Keep going at loving yourself until it doesn't feel like the Fonz trying to say, remember the Fonz and Happy Days? See, I'm old now, and there are people that do not remember the Fonz and Happy Days. It's work. Louise Hay had a book, You Can Heal Your Life, and she talked about mirror work and looking in the mirror and speaking kindly to yourself. I love Parks and Recreation. And Leslie, I know, right? Leslie Knope sometimes didn't have her posse of people around, so she left a message for herself. Hello, Leslie? It's Leslie. Hang in there. I love you. Bye. You know, loving yourself is not a bad thing, and you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with in the world. So maybe you need to edit that list, right? Think about your people. Who are your people? You're the Laverne to your Shirley, the Batman to your Robin, the Jim to your Pam. I don't know, who's your person? Surround yourself with people that make you know your worth, because, yeah, it's between you and you, but it sure as heck helps to have good people around you. And every third Wednesday of the month, I get to surround myself with some of the best people in the world. We were fortunate to have Guy Eakin from Lipedema Foundation with us in January. We often have special guests. Linda Ann Kahn is with us almost every month. April Sluter, you were a guest that month as well. There's my Susie. These are all people. That QR code. If you have never attended a lipedema patient roundtable, you snap that QR code right now. It is free. Join us. Next Wednesday, we will be debriefing about this FDRS conference. The chat is fire. It's fire. Shout out to our chatters. Jenny Bogine is out there watching in the live stream. We love you, Jenny. Our chatters, Nita Cluis and so many wonderful people. It is a healing time. If you want to be seen and you want to be heard, join us. We would love to have you. Surround yourself with people who lovingly challenge your thinking, your conditioning, and your limiting beliefs. It's good. Patty often comes up with ideas. It's like, man, why didn't I think of that? But thank God she did, right? She challenges my thinking. That's what a real friend does. But do not surround yourself with those who question your worthiness. That's your choice. You get to edit that list of people you surround yourself with. Hey, after 15 years of fake Instagram posts and beautiful meals, and every time I said, can we please go to counseling, I would hear, if you don't like it, leave. I did. I am the CEO of me. Now, I am not up here, oh my gosh, it's gonna go viral, right? Brenda Viola advocates leaving your husband if this thing, no, you have to do you. This is between you and you, not me and you, right? But I finally had to say, wait a minute, I am worth having a happy life. I'm worth surrounding myself. I didn't want to leave to fall in love and start a new life with someone else. I just wanted peace and quiet. It was really nice. And then I fell in love, and it was wonderful. And now that chapter is over. And you know what? I believe that my future is still bright because I'm still breathing. Look, I'm breathing. You're sitting here and you are breathing today. You are breathing. You are alive. It is not too late for you to change your mind about you. Oh, E. The E, I love this. And you're saying, Brenda, why are you showing a 1981 black Camaro silver Berlinetta with silver pinstriping? I know it's black, but silver. It was the hottest car in 1981. Can anybody relate, right? It was an awesome car. I wanted that car. I knew that car was going to change my life, that I was all of a sudden going to be popular, that I would have dates abounding, and that all of my insecurities would disappear. None of that happened. What did happen is as soon as I drove it off the lot, it depreciated. But then I started to think about the difference between appreciation and depreciation, and we heard about gratitude and the value of gratitude today. So I just want to say appreciation will make your life grow and flourish. If you're focusing on everything that's going wrong, and yes, you can, and not to say your pain and your hurt and your suffering, because we all got it, isn't valid, but oh my gosh, is it serving you to focus on it? Serving your soul is appreciation, will increase value and build momentum, and it will attract more good stuff in your life. Depreciation makes things lose value, creates negative energy, it will shrink you. So are you growing your life through appreciation, or are you depreciating your life through complaints and nitpicking and negative self-talk? It is an opportunity to fertilize your life. And I want my life to bloom like those flowers, and I know you do too. Don't neglect you. I loved Kara's story. Oh yes, her real name is Kara. Pale ginger pear. So she's like, I had to make a decision. I was going to take care of me, or else I wasn't going to be around for my son to grow up to, and his children to have me in their life. And that was were you fought in your head about that?
I mean, even just in December for this last surgery, I've done it 6 times before.
Yeah, and you're like, oh, I've taken care of myself enough. You know what? Take care of yourself. It's never enough. Selfishness is a label that people who are selfish impose on you. Wait a minute, you're not dancing to the beat of my drum. You're selfish. Really? Yeah, when people call you selfish, it's because you're not doing what they want you to do. But again, it's between you and you. You need to do you. So what do you appreciate? All right, shout out something you appreciate. What do you appreciate? Friends. You appreciate your family, your friends, the beauty of the breeze against your face when you go for a walk. You appreciate being heard and seen. You appreciate the fact that you are breathing. You appreciate. There's so many things to appreciate, and I encourage you to flame that fire. And now we're coming to the D, which is my most favorite. Decide. That you will never turn your back on yourself again. When I did finally leave my husband, there was an interesting thing I learned. Wherever you go, you take yourself with you. So even though I had left this situation, I was still left with me. And I had to ask myself, what was it that got me into a bad marriage and other bad situations and less than situations? And I wanted answers. Now, just like surgery isn't the answer for everyone, and there are other answers for lipedema, and they don't all work for everyone, my answer was to go to Costa Rica and I met with a shaman and I was on a spiritual retreat because I wanted answers. Now, whether you go to therapy, whether you do plant medicine, whether you do whatever you do, I wanted answers because I knew I was left with me and I was the one person I was going to spend the rest of my life with. And in that space and time, I came face to face with myself, and I saw myself at age 10. My dad died when I was 10, and my mom was fragile. So in my little girl mind, I decided that I wasn't going to cry or show emotion because I didn't want to upset my mom. And I realized that inside of me was this little 10-year-old girl that had never allowed herself to feel, that had never allowed herself to cry, that was always trying to make everybody else happy because I didn't want to upset anyone. And I gave myself permission to not turn my back on myself again, to let myself grieve. I went back to that little girl and I said, I'm with you. You lost your daddy. It's okay to cry. I went to places of the bullying in my life and I said, I'm with you. I was with you then and I turned my back on you, but I'm with you now. You know, there is a book by Nicola Parrott, How to Meet Yourself. And it talks about healing your own inner child. And then I was hearing Linda Ann Kahn talk about the trauma. And none of us get out of this life without experiencing some trauma. The question is, what are you going to do with it? Are you going to let it make you, or are you going to let it break you? Are you going to let it go through you and express something new and beautiful? All the stories we heard this morning were new and beautiful stories. I made myself a mug. I will never turn my back on myself again. And I stick with it. When I'm feeling like that, when I'm like, oh, Brenda, you can't talk to these people. You are not a doctor. You don't even have lipedema. You are an imposter. Wait a minute. I will never turn my back on myself again. And if even just one of you were encouraged by what I had to say today, then I'm glad I didn't shut up and shut down, just like our 4 patients this morning. It's never too late to begin the greatest of love affairs with yourself. And so in closing, that's my company logo, and it's a butterfly. It's Vici Communications. Vici means I conquered. And I want to help other people conquer in life their challenges, whether they are professional or personal. And it's such a joy to do it. But let me tell you about the butterfly in closing. I had a friend who had a butterfly farm, and she saw this little butterfly trying to get out of the chrysalis, and she thought, well, let me help it. She was just starting out. So she opened it, made it a little easier, and the butterfly got out, and it was beautiful. But it couldn't fly. Because it is the strength in that dark place. When you are pressing against that chrysalis that creates the strength in your wings so that you can fly. And I just want to encourage every one of you in this room, keep pressing against that chrysalis. You're creating strength in your wings so you can fly. And nobody would be happier than me to cheer you on and see you fly to new heights. You may be in a dark place, even those of you on the live stream. Keep pressing against that chrysalis because there is a freaking beautiful butterfly in the works. Thank you so much for your time today.